José Luis Navarro,
Head of IT, Global Consumer Finance at BBVA, responsible for developing and implementing strategies that promote the digitalization of financial services, elevating the customer experience to new heights. His leadership focuses on integrating advanced technological solutions, such as artificial intelligence, automation, and data analysis, to create agile, secure, and personalized financial products. Under his leadership, BBVA seeks to anticipate digital market trends, facilitating consumer access to modern and efficient financial services. Recognized for his strategic vision and ability to lead multidisciplinary teams, José Luis helps consolidate BBVA as a global leader in digital innovation in the financial sector.
You're here as a speaker, so we met in Marbella.
In Marbella, yeah, right.
Talking about open banking and change in technology. And here we are again in Mobile World Congress, and I'm so excited to sit with you.
Same. I'm really glad to be here. I'm actually really happy that you invited me to have this interview. So
me too. And you're just about to go onto stage to talk about the changes that you've been doing at BBVA. For the people out there listening to you, tell them what you do at BBVA and a little bit about your journey, actually.
Okay, so my current role is head of strategy of embedded finance within BBVA. I'm in the holding area because, BBVA, we have many geographies, and each one of them has its own pace of doing open banking, embedded finance, and so on. So we have a common line with the holding team, and I'm part of the holding team, which I'm happy to be there. And my background, I was from engineering before, and I was in consulting, like so many people now in the banks.
Earn some stripes. And telling the banks what to do with their digital transfer. But now you're doing it.
I'm doing it.
And embedded finance is not an easy thing. And it has gotten a lot of names and it has a lot of connotations. So break it down.
Well, it's true that it's not easy, but I think it's the way to go. I think embedded finance is here to stay because it's a change of paradigm. It's like we like to call it a new channel. So the same as mobile banking was a new channel that changed the paradigm of how banking was being done. Now it will be embedded finance, which means that if you want to reach to the end customer, you will have to do it through third parties because they are the ones that have the ecosystems. I don't like to use the word owner, but in reality, they are the owners of the customer base.
Wow, that's an amazing statement.
No, well, I mean,
to recognize that, I think that's a huge change, no? Like a huge change of the banks. Like 10 years ago, banks were saying customer's mine.
Yeah.
And now we're saying, wait a minute, the boundaries of the digital experience come through many, many channels.
Exactly. And actually, all of us get used to try to pay the streamer immediately. You don't want to go to your bank application and then send a transfer to a streamer, right? You want to do it on the app, and that's embedded banking, that's embedded finance. So we are getting used to that. I think currently the passive demand is being built inside of us. And there will be a moment where banks have to decide whether to be part of it or becoming like intermediary outsourcer of license and brick and mortar. Okay, so they have to decide if they want to participate, even if we are losing a little bit of contact with the end customer in some cases. But I see more opportunity than threat, actually.
And when you're thinking about this, you're providing value outside what used to be the bank fort, right? The walls that you could control in a world where banks know zero trust architecture and protect. How do you do that? How do you look at security? How has the mindset of security changed to enable like an embedded finance business? Because you're talking about, hey, maybe I don't want a customer anymore. Maybe I'm a little bit further, but I'm still here providing a value and I'm not a dumb pipe. How do you do that?
Exactly. Well, I think there are two parts. One is to have services and the product. You have to build the product. And that's a challenge, but it's not the most difficult part. The most difficult part is to change the bank's mind. And I'm talking about operations, I'm talking about customer servicing, I'm talking about infrastructure, architecture, and security. Because all the banks, we are really good in our own channel. We know
Yeah.
how to treat customers in our channel.
Oh, you build it as your fort, right?
Of
Yeah,
course,
they're in
it's
there.
our fort. But suddenly you realize that even the simplest of the API in a third party can bring over a lot of problems to the bank.
Okay.
Like you receive a call from a customer, which actually is not your customer. No, I'm from this customer. I'm using something and it fell, and they send me to you. And our call center say, "But you are not a BBVA
You're not mine.
customer.
I don't
Yeah,
even know who you
how,
are.
how can I contact you?" So up to the smallest process line, you need to change and you need to shift mentality on the bank. And actually, I think most of the bank we are building on that. I don't think at least in Europe we have many banks that have embraced fully the open or the better finance.
And that's the honesty, right? I love that honesty of saying like we're not fully there yet. So where are you and where have you been able to get to at BBVA? Like what are you proud when you look back? Give us a little spoiler about what you're about to share.
Okay, we are really happy
Okay.
that now the CEO level
Okay.
they are talking about the open market and that the way to go is the open market. That's already a significant change on the mindset
Totally.
because before we were used to spend a lot of money to improve our app to bring customers to our app, which is a lot of money to bring a single customer. Whereas you go to open market and you make a good customer journey, and that customer base of the partner will enter in your bank with a really how to say commercial marketing campaigns.
Totally.
Okay, so actually I think
By bringing value, right?
Oh, of course. I mean,
Which is something people forget, right? Like we're
no,
like,
yeah.
why are we partnering with these?
I like to say that the famous ecosystem of embedded finance is a good ecosystem. It brings value to all in all the steps.
Stakeholders.
That means not only the fintechs, not only the banks, but if there is no value or there's no value for the end customer, it won't work. Because in the end, the end customer is the one buying the product, and is buying the product through a third party or through a fintech. So if the end customer can find the value, this won't work, and that's our challenge. And actually, every single we have pilots, we have products. Some products just didn't work because maybe was not the target customer appropriately targeted, or it was not the value we thought. Okay, sometimes we do a lot of co-creation now, which is a really cool concept that I brought over embedded finance, is that you don't try to bring a product to a partner. You talk to the partner and say, okay, what are your pain points?
Correct.
How can I solve the pain points? And maybe in solving those pain points, I can use an API, part of an API, or maybe not. Maybe your pain points are with somewhere else, right? And by solving those pain points, we realize where the value is. And it's usually not where we thought that it was, right? Because we're a bank, we have our bias. They want a loan, maybe not.
Yeah.
They want to solve part of the journey and they don't need a loan, right? And that's something that we are building that, I don't want to say tradition, but we are building that, knowledge within the bank.
And this change, so huge shift on, hey, we don't own our customers, maybe an open market is the way. And that on the C-suite of a bank is like something pretty incredible, like something you don't see all the time. How has that changed the mindset of security and execution? You're out there co-creating. There's a lot of, and we know the world of open APIs is, they're not all the same. They're not interoperable. Not everybody keeps hygienes the same way. So how do you operate in that?
I have to
place?
admit that it's a back and forth.
Okay.
So it's like one step from and two step behind.
Okay.
Because
we're moving.
We're moving slowly, but we are moving there. And actually, we have every time we have a new product or maybe a new country, new use case, we find different situations, new situations that are like we call it like not happy mindset. Okay, not happy mindset can kill a use case or can kill a partnership. So we have to work a lot with the security guys and infrastructure guys, trying to understand exactly what's the problem. We are crossing some red lines, or initially red lines, traditionally red lines from banking, and we try to reinvent ourselves. Okay, if I want to offer a service within the limits that we are regulated bank, how can I do it? without exposing the whole bank to risk. And actually, I tell you, this is our daily fight, and we have it at all the levels of the bank. Okay, so it happens with risk, and it happens with security, and it happens with compliance, and it happens so all of them.
And this problem is only happening bigger. We know that in a world of like open data and open information, there's also a lot of open bots and open non-people. How do you look at technologies like the buzzword bingo of AI transforming this open business world that you're in? What is doing to security, and what is it doing to even just the mindset of building business?
Well, as a principle, the new technologies are an advantage. Okay? The problem is how we can make use of it, and how can we get the most of a new technology without breaking all the eggs I have in the fridge, right? Because I have everything quite ordered. As soon as we embrace a new technology, it's because we make sure that it's safe. And when we have a new one, then we have to start. But we are an innovative bank in BBVA. We like to do a lot of pilots. We started with open banking in 2015, so even way before the PSD2. And now we are doing a lot of tests with, for example, blockchain. But still, we are still a conservative, risk conservative bank. But we like to try these things. And we like to expose ourselves and try to see what are the advantages and what are the lines that we can't cross with that technology. So we take every single new technology like a new learning, a new trip, and that's really exciting for us.
That is amazing. Tell us a story about maybe one use case example. Are you working with like IoT payments? Are you working with outside payments? I know that there's lots of things that BBVA is doing that I've been finding.
I mean, payments is the obvious one. But for example, we have, as I told you, we have a lot of geographies. And one use case that we are particularly proud is like in Peru. We managed to do to put a collection system for like in the 7-Eleven kind of OXXO 7-Eleven shops. So there are a lot of populations which are really rural, and they have, I remember one of them have to go for reaching a branch, they had to take a boat for 8 hours and then queue in the branch and then back. So one day of holiday, and now they can pay in the convenience store.
So you've turned POS machines and convenience store into mini branches, effectively, into places you can service people?
Exactly. And actually, this is inclusion for people living in remote areas.
Of course.
And that's a huge improvement on their lives. It's not that we were looking for an inclusion solution, but it's that talking to the partner, he said, how can I collect the money for these people that is in the middle of nowhere, and then solving the problem of the partner, we solve also the inclusion, and we are really, really happy about that.
That's amazing, because it's often like the reason why inclusion conversations end up being on the last day of every event is because it's a nice to have. People think that a lot of these things is like, let's go hug some trees and do some good for the universe. Basically saying, actually, what is the business problem we're trying to solve? If you're going to service every Spanish-speaking person from Latin America to Europe, one of the missions of BBVA amongst many, thinking about how to get to remote locations and making sure people are who they are is also safety. And I think that was a bit of the role of the bank back in the day, right?
Well, but that we are used to, because we have too many banks in areas that have a lot of unbanked population. So we are used to that. And I would like to point also another case we had before in Mexico. It was a marketplace of house attendants. So they were like request an offer, the request, I need a gardener, and people say, okay, I know how to do gardening. And that people couldn't get the money. So we helped them to open the accounts, because actually we found that people was below the target of the branches of the bank.
So they were not even the scene.
They themselves felt scared to go to a bank, because they say, no, when I go to the bank, they ask me about if I have a job, if I have whatever, and actually I'm not welcome in the branch, because the branch has even a target customer base. And actually it was really beautiful that a lot of people was able to open the account and then get the money there, and actually you bankerize them. But the real problem is not having an account. The real problem is that they need money. And the need of money is solved by the marketplace. And we were just the mean for them to get the money. So, and actually, you told me about people in remote areas or quite not identify, maybe they don't have even a proper ID identification, but you can always help them. And actually, we were solving the problem of that marketplace, saying, okay, the people that offer themselves to work cannot get the money from any source. And actually solving a problem of the partner, we solve the problem of the people as well. So we like those kind of
real
we
use
like,
cases.
and everybody likes them, but actually they are quite easy to understand, and they give you a little bit the sizing of what embedded finance can do for the people and for the partners.
So for the people out there that are not just up for inclusion, where else have you managed to keep a priority in the C-suite of a bank and saying embedded finance is not just like a nice to have business conversation, but it's actually the way we're going to change how we look at data. This is often the conversation I have with people. It's like open finance or open data is an understanding where you provide value in the value chain. And when we look at a world of tokenized finance, or when we look at a world of what will we value in the future, I don't know, my kids hopefully will value the biodiversity that some of the tech giants should be responsible for. But what are some of the other use cases that excite you that got the C-suite of BBVA rethinking APIs?
We have a lot, but actually I can tell you that one trending topic is like the underserved of SMEs. So SMEs are underserved even for banks, but if you can from one go serving them and with an API, actually you are helping them to digitalize them. And they are really glad to have, for example, the reconciliation API. Reconciliation API, which is get in their system the movements of their account instead of having to go change from a ERP or for whatever. And actually that helps them to speed their purchasing cycle and the business cycle. Sometimes they need to find they receive a payment to, for example, deliver a good. And now they can do it automatically. And we find that they are primary, beneficiary of embedded finance.
There's so many efficiencies that happen when you look at a lot of economies in the worldwide, like SMEs constitute 50 to 60% of the average economy. And they expect services just like we do as consumers, and yet we have not. Can technology really change the unit economics? Is that what you're kind of getting at here? Because I think that's kind of what you're doubling down.
Technology can, but it's about the use of that technology. So technology, of course, it can. And new technologies are just amazing, sort of amazing. But it's how do we use them, and how do we understand that those technologies have to be put at the service of the customer. Like we said before, we discussed before, because this is really customer centric. And actually, customer doesn't mean only retail customer, which as well. For example, you talk about exchange of data. If I have much more data, I can give loans because we also have this kind of use cases, right? And we know, not in BBVA, but we know some banks are analyzing alternative data, like, for example, social media data, to decide if some person is worth for a loan or not. Of course,
somebody's really who they say they are. And what are the digital traces that we leave?
Yes, exactly. But I mean, you have to be really good, really proficient at analyzing social data to understand the worth of a credit, or the credit worth of an individual, right? What is happening? Okay, and if we don't use it, it's because we don't know really, we don't have that expertise, and we have to work on it, or we have some pilots or some
and we have to rebuild the way we looking at credit. I think like some of the things you talked about of tokenized economies, I know you're dabbling into that, all the things that open APIs, and not being the guy who needs to make the decision, like you need to build everything. You can leverage, you can partner, you can borrow.
Of course.
I think it's a huge shift in mentality of how we build technology.
That's why we talk about ecosystems. Ecosystems is not a three parties like fintech embedding my API and the customer. It's also about the regulator. It's also about the facilitators, like, for example, this kind of marketplaces that they aggregate banks from one side and companies from another one, of an ERP, or as you said, like some providers, for example, the video recognizing. We are not going to build that. That's already built.
You
So
live in a world of
course,
understanding the specialities of authentication don't need to necessarily reside with the bank.
Exactly. You have to decide what you are. So are you a technology powerhouse? Then build technology. Are you a bank? Then maybe some part you want to build it because it's your core, it's your the secret recipe.
Yeah.
But the rest, I think there are people doing it much better than you.
So what are you excited to hear about what other people are doing here at Mobile World Congress? What brings you, what are you most looking, other than obviously this interview with me, what else are you most excited about?
Okay. It will be worse than this, but I'm expecting actually a lot about the IA.
Mm-hmm.
Because in fact it's one of the questions I know I will have later. They told me they will ask me about what I think about IA in APIs.
And what do you think about IA?
But I mean it's not one technology or the other. IA is at the service of everything. It's our service with ChatGPT, and it's at the service, for example, of analyzing thousands of data. And actually, embedded finance is about data.
Correct. So, you're putting the house in order. I often tend to say this to people. I'm like, this whole buzzworld of AI and what is going to be the artificial intelligence. If we can't identify, authenticate, and treat and safeguard our data, it's going to be really hard to get the machine to do just about anything. So today, a lot of the world we sit in, we talked about data lakes.
Yep.
I joke and say that banks often sit in a little bit of a data swamp. It's a little messy. It's a bit of a mongezao.
Data swamp. I like it.
It's a work in progress in the cleaning part.
Because
maybe some consultants, like you and I have been, have told people to hoard all that data.
Yep.
So a lot of large organizations are sitting there with piles of things that no ChatGPT can solve.
Yes, but I know banks. We are thinking differently. Also, because of the regulation, is like forcing us to think differently, right?
Okay.
Regulation said the bank that is stored from the customer in your bank is not really yours, and if they decide, you can share it. And actually, I want to raise the hand and say, fine. And the data of the customers in the telco, is not from the customers.
And the data for the customer in the social media where your entire life is.
Exactly.
Where we live a world of slavery.
Yes.
Digital slavery, I call it.
But that's why now we are talking about embedded finance, which is how can I apply a financial service to solve a customer journey? But customer journeys are not only made about financial moments.
No.
It's all about, for example, like you change from a city to another one and you will have like the government problem, and those
and
issues.
And here I go authenticating that IME all over again.
Yes, exactly. Or moving the student experience from one school to a different one, something like that. And that could be done with data if the data was truly shared. That for me is the real open data. But who will be the regulator, the powerful regulator that can regulate so many different
segments? Who will regulate them all?
Yeah. Exactly.
And how will we talk about it? And then how do we give people their exercise? Of we've had this conversation about who owns your data and how do you have it. I think we shared here a common principle that sure, the data is mine and maybe I choose to allow you to safeguard it. But then we're going to have to get a lot more clear about the terms and conditions of how we do that, won't we?
Well, I think also that will be associated to having some kind of identity wallet.
Mm-hmm.
I think people should have an identity wallet. Identity wallet should be associated.
I didn't say it. He did it.
I say it. Okay, you told me you will pay me if I say it. No, but I think identity wallet, it will be important if it's associated with who did you consent to share what data. And then from that identity wallet, you can authenticate yourself and actually manage all the data you are sharing and with whom.
And when we think about this in the long scale, it's not just authenticating the data of the person, but it could be authenticating the data of the IoT device. It could be authenticating the fact that you put a merchant terminal or you turn a phone into a merchant machine in that remote place in Peru. And maybe, hey, wait a minute, it moved. It's no longer in Peru. It moved to another boat.
Yep.
What are all the signals and the information that I think we have? Data is about, I think, being a good listener.
Yes. Good listener and good analyst.
A good
analyst. You have to listen and you have to interpret the data. But currently, the only data that has to be shared is the financial one. So I can know what transactions you are doing, but I can know how many times are you paying, for example, the telco or, like you say, the IoT. I don't know if you have a medical problem, and because of the IoT, I can get some ideas, help giving you services which are social services. I think for me, that's kind of utopia, but it should be the open data. If not, let's not talk about open data anymore. Let's talk about
You're
finance.
talking about why we're qualifying and creating this. And like, let's remind ourselves, like, data is the largest asset class humanity is building, like largest than anything we consume and make. So I think it's something that we're got to be a little responsible or aware of, don't you?
I think we have to. But actually, you are really right that data is the major, I think is the new treasury. And actually, that's why this kind of unicorns, they become unicorn because of the data, not because of the service.
Yeah.
They really gather a number of customers, and they have their behavior, and that's what make them really become a unicorn.
Yeah.
So the value of any one of these fintechs and companies, what is the data behind? And actually, there should be a major responsibility. But this is kind of, I won't say personal, but it's about each company, how they want to treat them, and the regulation, how they are going to watch the treatment. And there has to be a major lining on how to treat data and how to share data.
And I think a lot of that conversation happens with big questions asking, what do you think of the power of AI is? I think the conversation that needs to come before is, what do you think the responsibility is with whatever prompt or whatever information we're going to hold up people? Just like banks taught us how to take care of people's money, right?
Yes.
So for people out there interested, can they reach out to you, Jose? Where do they find you? BBVA is, you heard him. BBVA is out there co-creating, changing the way we think, changing the way leadership understands what it means to have an open system. So how can people out there find out about you, and what should they get excited when they think of BBVA?
Well, let's be clear, okay? Mm-hmm. Of course, I want them to be excited with BBVA, but what they have to be excited is with their own lives about what do you want to achieve, what do you want to get, what do you want to buy, and then banks like BBVA, and we will be there. We are kind of the means for achieving part of that. Okay, so no one wakes up thinking, okay, I will ask for a loan.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Nobody
and
does.
if you do, okay, watch it. Go to the doctor and watch it. Yeah. Okay, you have to wake up and say, I want a car, I need a house, or I'm going to get married, or I will have this expense. And then, can I do it? Do I need a financial service, or do I need a loan? Do I need something? Fine, then we are here. And actually, I think that's when the whole ecosystem wins.
Yeah.
Okay, and well, of course, if you want to get just excited for BBVA, you are welcome. But
well, some of the startups might be excited that you've changed your positioning and you're out there looking for partnering, understanding the importance of an open ecosystem. Jose, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's delightful to see you again. And thanks for listening to one more interview here at Mobile World Congress inside of our Inside Drive series.